Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe?
let's get right into it.
7 seconds. Does that bother you at all or no?
No. Yo. No. Yo.
Wow.
We're back. I bet you there were a lot of people that are going to listen to this and think these guys were done, toast, like no more podcasting, because it's been like, what, a friggin' month.
This is the longest break.
Yeah.
By far.
And I will confess, I was starting to think that we were toast and done. And I was like, just so busy, man. The last like month, it's been nuts.
It has been super busy, so thank you everyone for tuning back in. I understand that we're going to have some new listeners, and I'll kind of touch on that here.
New listeners,
Yeah.
get out.
No, yeah, so we'll touch on
What
that in a
happened
second.
that I missed?
So, all right, I guess
So episode
yeah.
61, right?
Episode 61. Good morning, everyone.
Yep, and we are back.
If it's morning, if
we're
it's
still
my time
alive.
tonight.
We're still enjoying doing it.
We are enjoying. There is an enjoyment factor. That's why we do this after all. I mean, besides like the $1 billion sponsorships that we get every episode, it's very hard to like.
That's right. We have Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce coming on.
Yep, we do have
later.
them, and we also have these brink trucks backing into into Joe's driveway right now. So it's
It could happen if we hit the lottery tonight.
Sure.
Whole
so
different
yeah,
story, right? We'll have a professional studio and everything.
that'd be fantastic. So you were talking about busy month. Do you mind
Oh.
sharing what's been going on with you?
Well,
I'll kinda go.
so good Lord. So I guess I'm trying to remember when we last did this, right? So I was talking about how I was transitioning into a new job, right?
I think it's been almost about like a month, like
Yeah.
literally probably to the day.
So basically,
yeah.
I have been pretty much a road warrior every week for like the last 6 weeks.
Just driving.
No, flying. So, I mean, I've been in Chicago, Ohio, Indianapolis, Michigan, Detroit, just all over the place, right? Just running full tilt. Because basically what I'm doing is I took over a new territory, so I cover the Midwest. So I have all of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois. So I've been just humping hard, getting in front of customers and stuff like that. It's all good stuff. It has been very time consuming, and it's a position that is filling a role that's been open for a while. So there's a lot of pent up demand and a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in order just to kind of get everything back. And so it's been burning some serious cycles.
Would you say that this position is something where I guess like most, where it starts hard and then over time gets easier? Or is it something where it's going to remain kind of the same throughout the duration?
No, I mean, it'll definitely get easier. I think it's a matter of just kind of level, like everything, right? Once you start something new, you just have to get settled into a rhythm and a routine. And there's a lot of maintenance and care and feeding that has to occur just to get things kind of back onto a level playing field. It's kind of hard to explain without getting into the details. But generally speaking, I think that the next month or two are going to be just ball busting. But once I kind of get everything cleared up and get into the rhythm of account maintenance and just a lot of the stuff that goes on, the administrative crap, I think it'll start to smooth out and
Spring
it'll get
cleaning,
back
if you
to a
would.
little bit of a normalcy. But yeah, it's been a good busy. So I mean, there's no complaints on that.
I mean, you were never someone that was scared of a little travel anyhow, right? You've been doing that. You've been doing that for a while anyhow.
Yep.
If this was something new for someone who isn't used to travel, what advice would you give someone who's not used to that type of thing? Just like take it with its strides. Like, how do you because I guess I'm a new getting into business, right? And there might be some traveling on the horizon. What advice would you have for someone coming up? That
I mean, from a traveling perspective,
for traveling, well, balancing work with travel, I guess you could say.
yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, you can very easily get wrapped around the axle. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges for traveling is just kind of sticking with if you've got kind of a routine, like if you work out or you want to eat well,
Certain diets or something like
it is
that.
so easy to go off the rails on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so easy. It really is.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and don't get wrapped around the axle of the little stuff. Like I think we talked about it. You go to the airport and you see people just losing their shit over,
Yeah.
over stuff. And, when you start to get into travel, just realize things happen, right? I mean, literally things happen. And, just treat people like you would want to be treated, right? Because the people at the airport, generally speaking, aren't the cause of the problem, right?
Yeah, sure.
If there's a thunderstorm and your flight gets canceled, right? That agent behind the counter is not responsible for the fact that your flight just got ruined, right? And you're stuck in an airport overnight or some silly scenario, right? Have some empathy. I mean, it's not always the case, right? Sometimes people do cause the problems, but generally speaking, you just got to be chill about things. And if you've got a routine, try and stick to it. It's very, very easy to succumb to just going off the rails with regards to that kind of stuff, like working out and everything. And try not to, like, find the time and just treat it as, you're at home. And so if you get back to the hotel at 6, run down to the gym at 7, work out for an hour, just make sure you do it instead of falling into it.
Sitting in your sorrows.
Yeah. And then
no, that's good. I think it's good advice because, like, I would feel like whenever, even for the limited travel that I do compared to you, it's like going out, and you're just trying to stick to a diet or intermittent fasting or whatever the case is, and it's like you see your friends, we're at the, whether it be at like for a carnival, for example, and you see someone eating like funnel cake. I was having this conversation with someone, and it's like, oh, that looks so good. I mean, I don't cheat ever. It's like, what would one thing do for me? Like, et cetera, et cetera. So I could definitely see that becoming a problem. And then plus you're going to, I would say, like the biggest Achilles heel, which would be the Starbucks Reserve coming up, and there's a bunch of temptations there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so one of the other things that I guess when I travel is, you always look for opportunities just to kind of see something new, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily have enough free time to, start doing museum tours or, whatever it might be,
Sure.
right? But there's always something interesting in towns I travel into. Like, for instance, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and there's actually a really cool motorcycle store, big ass, like, superstore, right? And if you've, for around here, like in the Philly suburbs, right, there's a bunch of motorcycle stores, but if you go in there, they'll have like three shirts or, very little stuff.
Yeah,
this place
sure.
is like macked out, right? It is just, it's like
To the gills. That
it
stuff.
is a big ass building with just every kind of motorcycle part, bit, everything you could think of, right? So
Cool.
you look for those kinds of opportunities and you just take them, right? You go spend an hour, 45 minutes, and just go off and
Explore.
do that, right? So there's always an opportunity to kind of do that kind of stuff, which is kind of nice. I mean,
Without getting off topic, is it like I like motorcycles? Is it like something that it's a bunch of different motorcycles, or is it like sponsored, like kind of like out here? It's like if you go to like
so this is
Leroy's, it's like Polaris.
yeah,
you know what
I mean, so I guess you would consider this a mega dealer. So
they have everything.
They pretty much have everything.
Sweet.
Right?
That's
so, Honda, everything but Harley, to be honest with you, right?
Really?
I think every Indian, Polaris,
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, right? Any power sport related thing, they have the slingshot, right? The little I mean, they've got everything but Harley Davidson, I think, is you could find here, right? And they have all the associated accessories with all of the brands and all of the clothing, and that was really the reason why I went there, is because it was difficult to find some riding gear here, right?
Yeah, I mean,
or at least try it on and see if it fits, right? And you walk into this place and they've got
everything.
like,
It sounds like.
It's like they have like like you walk into a Macy's or something and they have like a Ralph Lauren section. It's the same thing here. They have like a Fox
Like
racing
subdivided
section,
kind of,
like
yeah.
where anywhere around here, I'd be lucky if I could find 4 articles of clothing total in the store.
That's
right?
what I was gonna say,
This place
yeah.
has like an entire section dedicated to Fox racing, and it's like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, around here, I brought up like Leroy's. Like, I've grown up with like 4-wheelers throughout it, and like the closest place to here is that store. But they're specializing in like, I think it's like Can-Am now.
Can-Am,
they
yeah.
didn't have that before. I don't believe. And the big thing was Polaris. Polaris was like the cream of the crop at the time, and now they have so many different options that I'm like, I wish that we could just go out and explore like the different things, whether it be like Honda or whatever the case is. Polaris,
Yeah,
like
I
how you
mean,
mentioned, and that seems pretty cool.
There's a million options, and it's nice to see them all side by side. But yeah, so I mean, anyway, that's one of the other things you can do when you travel is
Way to bring it back.
you do have an opportunity to kind of step out, and check out some interesting places that are, that's the fun part, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned coffee, right? So I'm going up to New York Wednesday, and I'm going to obviously make a trip to Starbucks Reserve, have some downtime between meetings and a dinner, right? So That's always the fun thing to do. But we talk about the coffee thing, right? I talk about how I visit like local coffee shops.
You were
when I'm
doing like
traveling, right?
you were doing updates
So
on your
that's
Instagram.
the other thing, right? In order to sort of do something interesting when I'm on the road to kind of just keep it fresh and alive, right? I go to Starbucks often when I'm on the road, but I also try and go out of my way to sort of find the local coffee shops and just sort of get that local vibe going.
Yeah.
Which is always a cool thing, right? You start to get into looking for different
culture.
aspects of localities. And so, I don't know. That's a fun thing. I mean, traveling's okay. I don't have any problems with it. I mean, I can imagine if you had young kids.
It being a problem.
It could really suck. And I traveled when I had the kid, or when the kids were younger, and it presents challenges, right? There's no doubt about it, right? It's far easier now where I'm at, where the kids are all kind of grown up and doing their own thing, and I can be on the road for 3 days and no one misses me, and probably are happy that I'm not here, right? So it definitely is easier at times. If you have young kids, I can imagine it can become problematic.
Sure, even without kids, if you have like a partner or something. I don't know, I guess that would be
The good thing is, though, I mean, most employers, as long as you're not walking out on a super, super important meeting, right? If you've got family obligations or some big event going on, most employers are like, okay, it's okay. You can miss a week, right? Or you can, you can come in a day late or a day early or whatever it might be, right? There's always flexibility, and generally speaking, and if you don't get that where they're just hardlining you to death, you're probably not in the right place, right?
No, absolutely.
So it's a little bit of give and take.
Absolutely.
Who cares?
No, speaking of work, I forget if it was within the last 5 episodes. Do you remember us talking more about how I was saying like, I'm starting to use LinkedIn more, and like you were saying it's kind of like the standard for like all business people and so on and so forth. So
I mean, it's the Facebook and Instagram
exactly
of business.
the business, right?
Yeah.
So I've been doing more of a conscious effort to just kind of go on there, connect with older people who I either went to school with or associates of like if we worked at the same place or something like that. So I went on there, and every once in a while I'll see, I don't know if it's like popular posts, like people that I don't follow or people that I do follow, they like repost something and it'll just pop up, which is kind of like a For You page, if you would. And I saw this thing. It said, it's like I don't know if it's a hot take or if it's a real take, but it's by a guy named Matthew Wohl, W-O-H-L. He said, all jobs that pay under $70,000 should need a one in-person interview. Often interviews can take a full person's day commitment-wise. If it takes 3 to 4 interviews, that could be the equivalent of almost a week's salary. People should not give up parts of their salary just to interview with you. And then there was obviously some back and forth in the comments.
No,
but
I can imagine. Yeah.
I would like to hear your thoughts on that, right?
You mean about the lengthy interview process where you have to?
I guess you could.
He's basically saying that for a job under 70,000, you should basically just walk in, interview with one person, and it should be over in an hour. Yes or no?
That I don't know.
Is that what he's saying?
All jobs that pay under 70,000 should need one in-person interview. So that could mean meeting with like a team of people within that time. Right. It's not like one person. I'll say that
unfortunately, that's not the world we live in these days. But
I agree with him, though.
I'm not arguing either. I mean, I mean, a lot of that I think is mandated by the bean counters, right? Because I think what you'll find is like even in the job that I'm in, right? Like when I interview for my position, and again, this is going back 8 years, but when I interview for my position, I went through. Christ, I think I interviewed with 8 individual people over the course of
sounds about right.
A couple of phone interviews and being flown out to Nevada to actually spend a day interviewing with another series of people, like a bunch of rapid fire sessions, right? And I mean, obviously, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he's just drawing a line in the sand with the revenue number, right? I mean, obviously, the more you're being paid, the more it's important that the customer gets it, or the company gets it right and hires the right person. I think generally speaking, in most positions, the person who's responsible for the hiring pretty much knows right away whether you are the right person or the wrong person. And then the rest of it is just going through the motions and checking the boxes because it's dictated that they have to go through this process, right? And absolutely, yeah. I think, there's always one gatekeeper. And if you sort of have that person, if the person who is the final decision maker, if you have their, yay or nay. The rest of it usually is cookie cutter unless you just completely F something up along the way, right? And I've seen that happen where the hiring manager is like, yeah, this is the right guy. I talked to him. I've interviewed him. A couple other people have talked to him, and it's been really good. And then they get in front of somebody a little bit higher up and just totally screw it up and, shoot off some red flares. And maybe that's the reason why people do it. But yeah, I mean, I get why they would say sub a certain amount. It's just, I don't want to say you're like, just a widget, right? But
yeah, I think that, so in the comments, I kind of dive deep into it because right away, like when you see that post, it kind of just like, there's obviously like questions that go off, like, well, what's the position for, so on and so forth, who's the company and all that type of thing. But for the blanket statement, I agree to a certain point. Now, if I'm on the smaller end of a business where it's like, all right, the company's revenues, like, I don't know, let's say less than like 10 million or something like that, right? Multiple interview processes would make more sense for that type of thing.
I think, so sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I think what people don't understand is they don't understand the corporate cost to hire somebody.
Oh,
and then very quickly find out they're not a good fit and then have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
There's an extraordinary cost to that, right? So, I mean, you have benefits, and then you have to carry that person's benefits even if you fire,
stuff, yeah.
There's all this stuff. I mean, there's obviously, I mean,
it's a commitment.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times you just, in this world, you just can't fire somebody, right? Without having to compensate them, even if they're only there a short time. Because you don't want, there's just so much to it. And there's a reason why these corporations go through these exhaustive processes to make sure and truly vet that the person's the right person, right? And
I agree.
You have to understand that, right? So, I mean, interviewing, spending a day, especially if it's confined to a day, that's not a big deal, right? I mean,
no.
If you go through 4 or 5 phone interviews or you come on site and spend a day with a company, it's not a lot to ask for even a sub 75K job. I mean, it's kind of the norm, right? You want to make, it's good that you and I have a rapport, but if there's 4 other people in this office and you immediately clash with 3 of them, right? That's an issue, right? So you got to vet that out.
I agree. Like, I think that what you're saying is a valid point, but I don't think that should be at the expense of the person interviewing. Right, the company obviously has way more money to be able to say
what's the expense of the person being interviewed
to skip their job for 3 or 4 days, which is in turn almost a week's worth of income coming in.
I mean,
that's like saying, all right, like a college student,
happen, like, well, how are they losing 3 or 4 days, right?
Because you have to take off work to go to the interviews.
Okay, I mean,
like not everyone's fortunate. Like people live most of the time.
You're taking one day off to go to an interview, right? If
1 versus 4.
No, well, okay, so I agree that if it's one company, they should not make you come back 4 separate days. That's stupid.
Absolutely.
It's one in, you're in there for a day, and you are out, and then they make a decision, and maybe there's some follow up by phone, right, or video conference,
right?
So, but that doesn't happen. I can't. I'm telling you, I don't. From all the interviews and stuff that I've seen, like our company do. None of them they make you come back, fly out to some place or come to the office.
That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that's a different ball game. If this person's seeing that on a regular basis, then I don't know what the hell industry that is. That shit doesn't happen.
No, so back to the right.
It's
like
one and done.
The line in the sand, right? So like 70,000, I think it should be. That's a fair number. I would say like if one or 2 at the max, 2 pushing 3, but like this person said like 3 to 4 interviews, like so that being 4 days, that's just a bit ridiculous. Now in the comments,
that's the exception versus the norm. It really is. Absolutely, that doesn't happen.
Now in the comments, someone was saying, I went for an interview for some company. I went in there and I got $20,000 more than what I asked, and it was a 1-day interview. And keep in mind, this was like for like a higher level position. It was like $170,000 to $190,000, and everyone in the comments was roasting this person. Like, what kind of like? So you're telling me you went into an interview 1 day for that high budget of a position to get more than what you asked, and it was only for a day? Like they were just calling them out on that bullshit. So it's like, I wonder how much of this is like for
happens.
Clicks. Does that happen for that big of a position?
Well, yeah, I mean,
for one interview.
You mean you only interview with one person?
One person, and that's how it eluded.
It happens. Typically, that only happens
internally
if it's a privately held company.
Okay, I was going to say I thought it would be
okay.
like
Not a
promoted.
So if it's a publicly traded company, you are almost guaranteed that you're going to be interviewing a bunch of people.
Sure, yeah.
And generally speaking, that one and done sort of deal is you're going into a family owned business, and you're interviewing with the owner or the father or somebody, right? And that's your one and done.
I wish I
right?
screenshot it. Damn it.
And so I mean, corporate America, publicly traded,
sure.
Whatever. That it's super rare that is a one and done kind of situation.
Like never happen, right?
It's almost guaranteed that was a privately held thing. But I've seen where you can go into an interview with an expectation in your head and get paid more, right?
Sure,
I mean,
that happens often.
That happens all the time, especially if you're high demand, like they really want you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll give you a nice compensation package because they want to lock you in. They don't want you interviewing with other people because they know they have a risk of losing you, especially if they're trying to fill a position. Like we've had a hard time filling a couple of roles. And you get to the point where, as soon as you lock in on somebody you want, you
tend to throw them a little bit more.
You tend to throw them some extra coin because you want to try and get them off the street and not talking to your competitors and stuff like that. So it happens. But I mean, the one and dones are super rare these days.
I think that person was either just like trying to fish for clicks because it's like almost everyone was like, well, what company are you working at? Like, that's just like so.
I mean, unless it's a privately held
especially too,
company.
like we're not talking about 70, right? There's a jump from 70 to 190, right? Like that's I think it was 100. It was either 190 or 180, somewhere up in that high range of.
I mean, it's all
pay.
relative, but yeah, I mean,
all relative, sure. But yeah, that was kind of the two-part parlay for travel, work, business. I don't know if you have anything else as far as either advice, any last final comments on that. I'm trying to think. Oh, I guess this was a good one we had a debate on. I'm sorry for harping on the job topic. It was higher pay, lower benefits, average pay, benefits. So it's like high pay, low benefits, and then this one's just kind of meeting in the middle over here.
I guess it depends on what the. I mean, it depends on what the benefits are. Like you just talking about like healthcare and that kind of stuff. I mean,
sure, healthcare, 401k, like they're just kind of
so,
like
I mean,
the basics,
generally
right?
speaking, that'll come down to whether or not you have a family and kids, or you're a single, guy or girl without any encumbrances. In which case, you probably want the money more than the benefits. If you're a family with 2 kids and, prone to sickness and stuff like that, you want the benefits versus the pay. It's a case by case based on your own sort of where you're at, right? Some people might have a wife who has a job and gets the benefits, and then you have a job and you don't need the benefits.
So you go first. You would get
so
the
you
money.
want to reverse it, right? I've seen that where one of the spouses has, much better benefits and then the other one has got a full-time job and doesn't need any benefits, right? So that happens quite a bit too. So, I mean, it's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I think the reason that I asked that too is because I was talking about that.
I mean, your generation, I guess, is all about the benefits, right?
Oh
they want the freaking free food, free dry cleaning, free yoga, free
hold on, buddy.
meditation, free quiet room, free
relax.
Free snack bar
That's
with
not my
yogurt
generation,
and
right?
snack parfaits.
That's like the tech
sushi and
the Silicon Valley people of my generation.
Oh, that's
buddy.
right. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's like
a separate microcosm generation
subdivision. So I guess what I was more so getting at, because I had this conversation with a few different people, like my parents or my friends and so on and so forth, where the one thing I've always heard was take the benefits over the pay. Like that's just like kind of seems to be like the consensus for at least in my personal case, personal thing. But then you get to a point where, well, there's multiple opportunities where I might have the higher income versus the no benefits. And then I also always hear, I wish I started saving when I was younger. I wish I was investing when I was younger, right?
So, I mean, two different things. Well, I shouldn't say it's two different things. I mean, you always want to get into a situation where they have a 401k or a retirement plan, right? And you want to start putting money into that as early as you possibly can. I mean, again, I think that's kind of super rare. If they don't, you can do it yourself. You just have to have the discipline. That's the big challenge. A lot of people a lot of people, it's baked into their compensation package, right? It's part of their benefits package, right? We'll match you, and you put 8% in, they'll match 8% or whatever the number is, right? And you always want to do that and maximize it as much as possible, even from the very early parts.
Yeah.
And almost every company in America now offers that. I'd be surprised. There's, again, you're going to run into a few that don't. But if they don't, right, you in theory can put away, you can do it yourself, right? You can self-fund a 401k or an IRA, right?
Yeah, I have a...
We're not financial advisors, blah, blah, blah.
We
but
are
you can
not
fund your
financial
own,
advisors,
right?
right?
You can take it. So if you are not getting those benefits, but you're getting higher pay package, you just need to have the discipline to take that and do it yourself, right? And that's the challenge, is a lot of people don't have that discipline.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, without getting into specifics, I've always, since I've had one of my jobs in the past, I had like a thing worked out where since I was like working with them, I was like discounted like the percentage rate from that specific advisor. So like since I was like internal at the time, like they would take X amount, right? Whatever the case is. If their cut's 5%, they would take like 1% because I was internal at the time. So I've always just kind of had like that just come off of like every month it would be like a subscription. Like every month it was X amount coming out because of the work that I had at the time. And I'm like, well, if I cancel it and then try to rejoin, I'm not going to get the same rate. Like the rate's going to be significantly better. So if you could get a situation where you almost look at it as like a monthly subscription to like the people who are, I guess, even my age, I'm more or less talking to, and maybe some people that are older, definitely do that. Just like hook up with don't hook up, but link up with a advisor of some sort and get that situated squared away. You know what I mean?
It's never a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all. And that's kind of,
I mean, money's a tricky thing. And, again, you got to have discipline. I mean, it's very easy to get wrapped around just wanting the latest and greatest. And trust me, I am guilty of that more so than any human being on the planet, right? I mean, I am not a person to be taking advice when it comes to financial matters. I have not lived a life that's worth replicating, to be honest with you, from a financial perspective, right? So, I mean, don't. But
listen, right? So
if you're all about, pure consumption and feeding the disease, and I'm the guy. But it's true. I mean, look, I'm the first person to admit it, right? I mean,
no, listen, right? It'd be funnier because of your saying all this, but so I guess the core of what I'm trying to get at was I had an interview within the past so many weeks, or a couple of them, but this one in particular, I won't say any names because they told me not to. They listened to our podcast, when I walked in there.
Wait, the employer listened to your pod? Wow.
Yeah. So I went in there and he was like, I saw your resume, and because in my resume, I have like hobbies, and one of the podcasting goes in there. And I walk in.
Which episode did they listen to?
That's the thing. So I walked in, and shout out to them because I'm sure he's listening. So shout out to him. And he was like, your uncle's buying what, McLaren? He said your uncle's buying McLarens or something. Oh. And I was like, no, like it's like an ongoing joke. He's like, he's buying like Teslas or something. Like he was just busting balls and stuff like that.
It did sound probably. If you're on the outside looking in, you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's shopping for McLarens.
Yeah, no. And
we shopped for a McLaren. We looked. That's all we did.
Window shopping, right?
Window shopping is the best.
And he was just, kind of talking about that. And he was like, "You're going to talk about us on the next one, aren't you?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I want to get you on." And it was just funny. It was a super cool moment. The one thing I will say, when I walked into his office, it was hilarious. And he's going to laugh. He's probably smiling right now. He was listening to Indian tribal music, like the hum bum 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 bum. He was trying to get pumped up, and he was like, "Dude, I listen to this stuff." And
Wolf of Wall Street,
stuff. Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I could get down with this. But yeah, it was just funny. He was just like saying that he listened to that, I guess the Tesla one, and we were talking about like the Carol Baskin one. That seems to be like the popular one that whenever people talk to me about the podcast.
I mean, that was obviously like 50 episodes ago.
I would like to revisit that.
I know, I really would too. And it's funny. I kind of wish I wish we knew. Oh, I wish we knew then what we know now from kind of having done this for so many episodes, because I think it could have been a lot better. I mean,
it could have been better. I mean, that's just anything, trial and error, you know? And we could have, like, if I knew,
I'm still really glad that we didn't ask her all the stupid shit that everybody else asked her about the Tiger King, right?
Yeah.
That really wasn't the premise of that, right? For those that don't know, right, we interviewed Carol Baskin. If you don't know who she is, she was part of the Tiger King.
Yeah, come on.
Right. And I think it was episode 10, and we interviewed her. Not so much to kind of drudge up all the Tiger King and her past relationship, but it was to actually talk about She was getting involved in cryptocurrency when we were kind of talking heavily about crypto, and that was the premise of the conversation. Was I think as a nonprofit, how she was trying to leverage
Her crypto business.
crypto to actually take funds in.
Yeah, more specifically NFTs, which, I mean, we should
That
do
too.
this
Yeah,
often because this is a great segue into the next topic, which is on my bullet point, NFTs in 2023 being worth nothing. So
You're telling me the Bored Apes are all shot to shit?
So now this is the part where Joe gets to do his happy dance and say, I told you so.
You know what? I'm so over it. I mean, honest to God, when's the last time that we really, really, really talked about crypto and NFT?
It was a while ago.
I mean, it's been like 20 episodes, right? We were every freaking episode was about crypto and NFT.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking to myself, like, holy shit. And it's funny. I actually, I don't want, I mean, it's probably getting, I had to buy something using Bitcoin, and it was the first time I had been on Coinbase in quite some time. And it actually was funny. I was trying to transfer Bitcoin into my wallet, and it was a pain in the ass. And I'm like, holy shit, it hasn't changed in the last like 9 months. It still sucks.
The NFT situation has a lot of the projects went to zero, but the bigger ones, I don't know if they're still around. I really didn't look into it. It was one of those things where you read the
like,
headline.
is OpenSea still a thing?
You read the headline and you're like, I'll talk about that. No idea what the fuck's going on, but I'll talk about it. So,
we should. So maybe what we'll do is let's at some point let's just go back and take a look at OpenSea and just see what the hell some of these like the Bored Apes and is it the Bored Apes? Is that the yacht club one that was like the one that was like $2 million for
and then they had
a stupid
crypto punks, which were also like the top blue chip stock at the time. I'm trying to think what else there was, but those were the main three, right? And we, we kind of rode the wave when it was around, hence why we talked about it for like 20 plus episodes.
Like all the other altcoins, have they all just kind of finally collapsed, or are they still all alive and kicking?
Well, we could check it out.
Yeah, I mean let's not do it online, but let's. Maybe next we should revisit that. I mean,
we'll revisit.
That's a whole. That's probably a whole episode because I'm actually kind of curious to see what happened because I mean, obviously, I clearly I have not really looked at it other than the fact I just went on Coinbase to buy some Bitcoin, and
so
it was a shitty process. Still
tried to open up the Coinbase app, but I got a new phone. This is a transition, by the way.
Go ahead.
So,
I got a new phone too. So we both
got
got new phones.
iPhone 15. Initial thoughts. What are you thinking?
It's a fucking phone. I don't know. There's nothing special about it.
I liked. So I guess to start a conversation about it, I saw Marquez Brownlee, who I trust a lot with the tech stuff. He had a great analogy. I always love a good analogy, is what he would say. He compared the iPhone to the Porsche and how like the Porsche kind of, if you look at the
is it Porsche or Porsche?
I'm gonna say Porsche. If someone wants to fight me about it, you square up.
I always say Porsche.
Porsche, sure, okay. But the new Porsche, right? They look the same. I think it's like the 911. It always kind of had that similar kind of body style throughout its entire life, but they always just like fine tune and refresh. And he compared it to that, and I couldn't agree more. It's just like a more refined iPhone 14. I didn't have the 14. I had the 12. So jumping from that to this, significant improvements.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I've kind of settled into.
Like a 2-year cycle.
Yeah, 2 or 3 year, depending
that's kind of where I'm
on
at,
it.
yeah.
So I went from a 13 to this with this one. So I trade, and the only reason I did is because AT&T gave me $1,000 for my my 13 for trading in on this. So I'm like, Jesus, and in the span of 2 years or 2.5 years of owning that 13, I literally got almost 90% of the money back on it. I mean, there's some, we can get into that because it's
for sure. I think
AT&T is not altruistic in that, right? They're locking you into a 3-year freaking commitment to get that $1,000.
So I have T-Mobile, and I went from the 12 Pro to the 13 or 15 Pro, and fuck those goddamn con-selling pieces of shit, bro.
Who are we talking about?
The guy, bro, the people that work at the desk, bro. Like, I was trying to get a new phone. I went there, give them my phone. They're trying to sell me a new plan. They're trying to sell me accessories. I want the new phone.
At T-Mobile?
T-Mobile.
Oh, all right.
And then now my mom's still
Why'd you have to actually go? I mean,
because
I can't remember.
So they gave me. So this is what happened. We ended up going with like a whole new plan. This just turned into a mini ramp. Sorry, but they gave me a new phone to like it was like a temporary phone number. The one that I texted you on, I was like, I don't want a temporary number. Just give me whatever the situation is. Like, I just want to turn this in like how I always been. Get a new phone. And they gave me like a new phone number, and then I was like, give me the old phone number back. Oh my god, it was a pain in the ass. But yeah, I just wait for them to get roboticized. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Crazy stuff.
I mean, I
Like, we
can't.
had to go
I've
in
never.
person.
I mean, I usually do it through Apple, and it's smooth
Oh, you
as
go
can
through
be.
Apple?
Even for AT&T. So literally,
Well, they probably have,
my
like, more of a
trade-in
commitment.
was with AT&T, but it was all handled by Apple, right? Apple sent me the phone the day of. They sent me the box to return it. I actually shipped it back to them. They a day later said, "Yep, we got your phone. Everything's fine. You get a $1,000 discount." I'm like,
Yeah, we've been with Sprint for like 20-something years, and then T-Mobile bought us
T-Mobile,
Sprint.
yeah.
So it's like 20 years, I'm like, we should get the white glove experience here. You know what I mean?
Should,
like,
but yeah.
we got
You're just a
screwed.
widget in the grand scheme
Just a
of things.
widget. Speaking of widgets, let's go to Rivian. Going to be making the Amazon truck. Did you hear about this?
I've been doing that for a while.
They've been
That's
doing
nothing
this?
new, yeah.
I've never noticed that. I saw a X post about it.
That's the only reason I think they survived.
Yeah.
Just because they had that income coming, and then
Yeah.
they haven't been able to build them fast enough or something. And then Amazon's doing. I don't know. There's a lot to that, but I mean,
They've
that's
been doing it
nothing
for a
new.
while?
They've been doing it.
I've never noticed that, but I have noticed for our area in specific that almost everything, and you could, I want you to comment on this, is like, I don't know if the warehouse has got bigger or what the case is, but everything in our area now is almost like same day shipping. I've noticed, or like at least like next day shipping,
That's
which is like,
across the board. I mean,
is that everywhere?
Yeah, because I
I've
mean,
noticed it
Amazon's
more
got.
for our area.
I
in
mean,
particular.
Amazon has these 2 million square foot warehouses in every freaking metro on the planet. Ours
is Delaware, I believe,
one of the
right?
things that I notice, right, is when I'm traveling, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Amazon's got warehouses everywhere.
Really?
I mean, I'm talking everywhere, and we're not talking like little warehouses. Like, these are freaking sick ass big 2 million square foot warehouses, and they're everywhere.
just host
and
everything in there.
I mean, the logistics and the behind the scenes of an Amazon is just, to me, it is mind boggling. If you ever took pause and think about that, right,
yeah.
you go online and there's 18 trillion
Products.
online items and products. And like you just said, right, it doesn't seem to matter what you order, you're going to get it tomorrow. And it is just sick to think about that. And yeah, so I mean, I'm not surprised. Plus, we do have we have one of their biggest warehouses within close proximity, right? So I think Wilmington, Delaware, or Newark, Delaware, is one of their main East Coast hub warehouses.
Yeah, because me and my friends, we went airsofting a couple weeks ago. And, we're getting back into it and everything. I'm looking up like airsoft BBs, and you go from like something like that niche to like books, and then they have staplers or something, and you look and it's like everything's next day or same day, and it's like, you sound like an old head talking about it, but it's like, this is truly like it doesn't, like this is the future, right? And it always thinks, are we getting one step closer to that drone delivery? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they talked about that, but nothing's ever seemed to come from it.
It's so funny though, and it becomes. I mean, I am so jaded when it comes to that shit now. Like, if it's 2-day delivery, I'm losing my shit. I'm like, wait a second, maybe there's something that's close that I can get tomorrow. Like, I can't wait 2 days for something. Like this is what I want, but it's 2 days. I gotta look for something else that I can
First
get tomorrow.
world problems, man.
Like, whatever it is. Like, it's an Energizer battery. Shit, I want to get a door cell because they can deliver it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's that bad, right? And the other day I was at, I had to go to Advanced Auto Parts to actually get a battery. And I'm like, I go in, right? And the store's got one dude working behind the counter and there's 6 people in line. And I'm like, the whole process is 15, 20 minutes, like from start to finish, but it felt like an eternity. And I'm like,
think about it. That's how long it took to get your car, right?
I'm like, this is the freaking reason why everybody like goes to Amazon, right?
Sure.
It's so funny though. I'm like, it just drives me shit crazy. Like, our patience levels are just shot to shit,
dude. Yeah, you're not
nothing.
kidding. I mean, like, everything is just more about, like you said, it used to be. I mean, I guess it kind of still is. It's like, it used to be more about the brand, like what brand's better. Now it's about Duracell's shipping a day
well, here's
earlier.
the weird thing, right? I needed 2 batteries, and I got one at Advanced Auto, and
one online.
And that one, you buy it, and then they charge you like an extra $25, and you got to return a bad battery. and then they credit you back. It's called a core charge, right? In the automotive industry, it's kind of a thing, right? If you have a part, they want the bad part back. So I ordered that exact same battery on Amazon, and it's like $30 cheaper, and they don't want a core back, so you don't have to deal with that headache and shit. And I'm like, this is just the kind of easy things that Amazon does. I hate Amazon. I really do. I like deep down in my heart, I really want to hate Amazon, but at the end of the day, I can't escape that shit.
I mean, everything's on. Like at one point, like before, Amazon was always kind of like they would have stuff on there, but it wasn't always the best of quality on
it still
Amazon.
Isn't. I mean, generally speaking, most of the shit's Chinese crap.
Is it really?
I mean, it's awful. But
to that point now, like I just bought a pair of like Carhartt pants on there. I don't remember being like having that type of thing on there like a few years back, and now it's just like I feel like more name brands are kind of on, like if not every name brand.
Yeah,
on there.
I mean the name brands, it's usually. It's their slow movers, or it's like 3-year-old shit that either they are trying to get off the books, or they've basically sold.
Or it's like a signature piece, like
they've sold it off in bulk to some aftermarketer, and then they're just selling it. So you're the bigger name brands. You won't really find on there, and you definitely won't find their latest and greatest cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this was just more of a one of their staple pieces that they've always had.
Or what happens is Amazon has, people don't know this, but if you look, I mean, Amazon, like I was looking for Toomey luggage the other day, and you'll find some bits and drabs on Amazon, but there's this other company that I never even heard of, but apparently it's a high-end luggage company, and it's an Amazon company. Like so that's the other way they get around it, right? Because there's this stigma, right, that if it's on Amazon, it's garbage. And so I guess that's how Amazon gets around, or that's how they entertain and get
they buy it.
They get these higher end brands, is they have their own little boutiques that they own. So it's like you're buying Toomey from this company. I forget what it was called, Etsy Bot, or it was just something like that. Right?
Sure.
But it's an Amazon. It says Amazon owned company, right? And
sure.
And then you go and you look at this company, and they specialize in all the high end shit, right?
Cool. So I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like,
I think that's how they got into shoes, right? With that, what's that company they bought, the Zappos, right? That's how they got the shoes, right?
Yeah.
Like no one, like Adidas and Nike wouldn't sell shoes on Amazon. Ooh, no, I can't do that. So Zappos, they bought Zappos because Zappos was like the big shoe company online. It was it's all kinds of shit.
Cool. I forgot that we didn't talk about it because it's been that long, but in this area, I mean, this is probably just beating a dead horse at this point, but since we've been gone the past month, someone escaped from prison in our area.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
So,
not only did a guy escape prison, but so did 5 like teenagers from some juvenile kind of thing.
That was less glamorous. This one was more like, one was great. So this guy from Brazil, this is not a great story, but he is like a murderer. And he came to like this holding cell that's in our town area, whatever you want to call it. And he actually climbed up a wall, like a crab walk crawl, all the way up. And he jumped over some fences, and he went on the run for, I think it was like 13 days, something like that.
It seemed like it was forever.
And they could not find him for the life of anybody. And they had, I think it was like 400 cars or 400 units here. The FBI was around, and so forth and so on, and they ended up catching him. But it was at one point, this guy was so good at, I guess, hiding, or the police were so bad at looking, whatever one of the two you want to say. They said that they were like
walking over top
of him essentially, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, if you know that area, I mean, I get it. I mean,
it is like the Amazon jungle over there.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty thick woods, and as it turns out, right, he kind of went into that area and never really left, right? So I mean, it wasn't like he was going anywhere. He was kind of in that area. They just couldn't find him.
They couldn't find him.
There was a whole story about the lack of canines to help with the search, and that
it was so hot.
That was like
that?
No. So there was two things, right? There was using helicopters with the heat. The heat sensors, and they couldn't do that because it was like 100 degrees that week. It just happened to be that was the hottest week of the year, and so they said that that scanning equipment wasn't really going to work because everything was freaking hot.
Yeah,
right?
It was super hot. No rain.
It was blaring flaring the sensors, but it was the canine units, and I don't want to get into a political discourse, but apparently there was some funding cutbacks on canine resources in Chester County, and so where they normally would have had like a dozen canine units, they had 1 or 2 or something like
And they
that.
got his ass at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really them, right? That actually, he ended up leaving this immediate area. He went like, I don't know, 20 minutes north
Yeah.
or 30 minutes
It's
north,
like Phoenixville or something.
and then I guess they brought in border
FBI?
patrol
Oh, yeah.
special, like the SWAT or the SEALs of the border patrol ended up catching him.
They got his ass. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a 3-week process,
Dude,
it was
yeah, and
just
it's like that was like during our disc, like we stopped.
And the funny thing is, he was like a 5 foot. He was literally 5 foot tall, right?
5
so,
foot nothing.
like, if he actually got into general pop, if they had just kind of let him go into general pop, they would have. People would have seen him. Like,
Yeah.
just dude, there's a 5 foot guy right there, right? How many 5 foot guys do you know? I mean, I know there are some, but generally speaking, there's not a lot of 5 foot males. And I'm like,
Yeah,
just let him go, and let
you're
him.
starting beef with all the 5 foot guys.
I'm not trying to, but I mean, seriously,
No,
there
I know
are,
what you mean. But it's crazy. Like that whole thing was like talk of the town for so long. I feel like every
they were
corner
they were
and
like
everything.
shutting schools down, Longwood
Yeah,
Gardens,
yeah.
which is our big where he was, right? That was the property,
Yeah.
which is like a big arboretum gardens, thing, and
Owned by the
that was
DuPont
shut
family.
down for literally like that entire time. They just shut that entire place down while they were looking for him.
We don't like we go there every once in a while, and it's funny, like uncoordinated. We were originally going to go there, and then all that thing happened, and we're like, all right, well, we're not going to be able to go because we have tickets that
I kept saying that
expires.
One of the big things at this Lone Gardens is they have these really cool tree houses. Like these are like knocked out tree houses,
yeah.
and I was like, the dude's just camped out in one of those tree
yeah,
houses,
he's
like living
low,
there. Right?
yeah.
He's probably got his bed and his thing, and he's in one of those tree houses. Just
Yeah.
go look there.
No, it was really impressive because apparently he didn't really have like an idea of the landscape, and he ended up living. But it's really thick, so it's like, was it skill or was it just luck? And
No, it was just shit ass luck. I think.
That place is very dense.
Yeah.
Is the word. So that's kind of how that went. I don't have any more thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I have one more thing, but it's a little bit more political. And
As long as
happened
it
a while
doesn't
ago.
involve Hummer, I don't really care. Right. So,
Oh, that was another thing the guy was
No,
joking
that's-
about.
yeah,
He was
Hummer.
saying, he was
me
like,
and my bitching about my
Yeah, he was saying,
$150,000 Hummer.
yeah, he was saying, he was mad. He got the Tesla because he couldn't get the Hummer, right? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
That's exactly how it happened. It is kind of like, oh God, I guess on the outside looking in, it's like, Jesus Christ, talk about like a vanity play. yeah, I get it. I mean, what can I say? I'm that guy, but yeah.
All right.
By the way, they still have that Hummer. It's online now.
I saw you
and
posting about like saying like they wanted like, what was it, 150?
155, and they still have it. They've been sitting on it for now about a month. And
Don't you feel so much more relieved that you don't have to stress about buying?
it's really funny you say that. I do, and it's and now that they're kind of rolling out in mass, like the prices have been plummeting, so they want 155, and they may get it, but generally speaking, the numbers are caving like as quickly as you can possibly think. The only thing that has saved it from totally collapsing is the fact that the strike is on, and now there's delays in deliveries. But
So
I
consider yourself
go
lucky.
online, and all it is just people complaining about problems. Like, the battery's dead already, 3 days after I bought it. And it's just, obviously you're always going to get that with the forums, right? Because that's all people do is just, kind of everybody brings the problems, not the good stuff. But I'm on there and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of refreshing. I didn't get one, so I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'm over it, but
Whatever helps you cope, Joe.
I guess I'm not over it because here I am bringing it up, right? So I am really, I think for the most part, over it. But I mean, it's like a train wreck. I'm just curious to see what the final result is, and they still have it. They're still sitting on it.
All right,
I'm waiting for them to call me, and say, hey,
we'll give you for 150.
we changed our mind. Will you want it?
what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say?
I'll say, yeah, give me a $40,000 discount.
Well, what if they say, all right, well, yeah, we got it for you for 115?
Yeah, well, no.
No. Then what if they say 100?
Only if they give me a full 100% trade-in value on my Tesla that I bought.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna bring up something.
So Turner, GMC, Buick,
Should there be
New Holland, Pennsylvania, you still suck?
Should there be an age limit to politics?
Should you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, the reason I brought it up was because that guy, I feel bad for him, but he kept like freezing the second time. This was like from 2 weeks ago. So
McConnell?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Dianne Feinstein finally dying at 90.
Whoa, jeez. Whoa.
Like she had no business being in there either.
God,
I
here
mean,
we go.
Fetterman. I mean, there's a list that goes on. I mean,
Oh no! I knew I would get him going.
Well, no, I mean, look, it's just bloody obvious. I mean, you don't have to be pro or cons, right? I mean,
so in the insurance
I get
industry,
they're all Democrats, but I mean, let's be honest. I mean, these people should not be in office.
in the insurance industry, there was an age limit. Like you can't run your own firm after the age of 65, and I thought that's a good it's a good age.
Is there whatever the mandatory retirement is? So I mean,
Yeah,
like
65 for that.
whatever it is. Like let's just draw a line in the sand and say 75. You're done, or 70, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely.
Because I feel like there comes a point where you just can't keep up with like the new trends, and you're kind of stuck in with your own old ways of like not wanting to really.
Yeah, someone just asked about that the other day. I was listening to something, and it was like there should be age limits and there should be term limits, right? And
Sure.
These are common sense things that will never happen, only because the people in power will never vote for, right? That's the vicious circle, right? The people that are in power want to hang on to that power until the day they die, literally the day they die, right? I mean, Feinstein is a perfect example of that. She wouldn't walk away from it. She's a senator from California. She literally was 90 years old, and she's basically been, I mean, I don't know what the deal is. She had a stroke or something, right? But she's been basically, I don't want to say dead, but she was basically out of it for the last 6 months, and they propped her up and just waved her hand to sort of acknowledge her existence. And these people just can't let go of power. I mean, I'm not in that position, so I'm sure I would be the same way. But there should be a line in the sand where that's it, you're done. Get out and let's get some fresh blood.
Like I said, I think that the age limit being at 65 is great because, speaking from insurance, that they even start like planning that 5-year plan. So like the guy that I used to work for, he was 60 at the time. And they kind of had that 5-year plan that they've always kind of worked on, like who's going to step in, and people are still competing for that spot. It's a good thing because you have guys that are still hungry. Like if you don't have like an end or like a what do you call that? A rope in sight saying like here's the end for that person, you'll never kind of truly work to your potential. But if you're working towards being that next top dog and there's like one other competitor for you, it'll push you guys to keep going. And I can only see that being a good thing for business, unless there's like some scam tactics happening or behind the scenes tactics working. And I mean, it just made the most sense, I feel like,
I mean, there is some value in knowledge, right? And knowledge comes with age, and theory, right? So I don't know, maybe 65 is too young. I mean, politicians, generally speaking, aren't lifting heavy weights, so you can sort of rely. Like, I mean, look, I hate to bring this around to like Trump and Biden, but I mean, there's not a tremendous age difference between the two, and just look at the two of them.
Well, yeah, that's always the argument with Mick Jagger.
I mean,
also their
age too. I mean, seriously, how can you argue that Trump isn't perfectly capable of, his faculties are all there, right? I mean, Jesus Christ, that dude is just something else. And Biden's the exact opposite. And there's only, I don't even know what it is. It's only like a 3 or 4 year age difference.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the age difference.
Maybe 5, I don't know, but it's not a lot.
I always hear about they always compare the two to like Mick Jagger, who's still performing. Like on Joe Rogan, they talk about him quite often. Who travels with 2 tour buses, and one's carrying just like workout equipment, and he's just as old, if not
dedicated,
older.
You can't fault somebody for being dedicated to the cause. I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely more we could talk about on that, but I think that's a good point to put the pin in. So, do you have any closing thoughts? First one back. I think this was a great one.
No, I'm shocked that the GoPro is still cooking.
We also have a separate one going there.
The other camera testing is actually still going too. I think that one's limited to an hour. Like it'll literally cut out at an hour, and it's not overheating. I think it's just
cuts at an hour.
Canon's got some sort of weird thing where they can only record an hour before they have to kick it off.
Well, let us know which one looks better if you put both of them in. I don't know if that's what you're planning on doing. But
I mean, I have them both set at 1080. Both of them will do more than that. Like the Canon will go up to 4K.
1080 is perfect. I don't think you need.
No, I mean for YouTube and shit like that, it's fine. So I don't know. Trying to think what else is there. We got like a few more minutes. It's only 53. So
I don't think. I mean,
no one's going to be here anyway. Oh wait, you told me there was going to be more people listening.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the people who are in the office, they were all asking about the stuff, and that was kind of the new audience. And I'm also working on some other projects with this guy who's a director in the area. So shout out to Rafi. He's
So
a dope
where are we
guy.
at with the clothes?
Yeah, so we got some new stuff in. These are just samples. We're gonna be, doing. I think me and Joe just need to get together, maybe after this, crunch some numbers if you have some time. See what the next drop entitles. I don't know if it's gonna be T-shirts, if it's gonna be hoodies. We'll figure that out. I mean, we definitely, like Joe said at the beginning of this, it's been a while. It's more of like, hey, listen, let's not forget the goal, which was just to do it for fun. You know what I mean?
We still have some stuff if you want to go to.
Yeah, we got a sale like the other day.
exmnds.com. We still have some wares, right?
Check it
Whether
out.
it's hoodies or the really, really super cool color change T-shirts in black and white. We got those. Just go,
Yep.
go. Buy.
Go. Don't
That's how you
think
can
twice.
support us.
Don't think about twice about buying. Just buy it. Money comes and goes, right, Joe? Like, forget about it.
That's how you can support this podcast. Buy
absolutely.
some clothes.
And
Share, like, subscribe. Come on, we got to get it all in.
yeah, we got to get it all in.
Quick.
Yeah, so we'll definitely keep the socials up to date. I feel like there's just some spring cleaning that we need to do, and yeah, so go check it out. Go check out the website. We'll be putting out some new stuff. Stay in the loop.
All right, cool. Let's call it. It's good to be back. We're not dead. I know it's been a month, and it may very well be a month again before you hear from us.
No,
but,
it won't be a month. Well, I'll make a promise.
Yeah,
you make a promise.
I do too. And,
All right.
and crypto, we're talking crypto next time for sure. So
Oh, God.
we're going to revisit it and see what the hell's going on.
we'll come with
So check back.
Peace.
Peace out. Later. Bye.